Hello, in this lesson I'll be explaining lesson number 7, which is the second lesson in section 2. Today we're going to be talking about organization and management, so let's start. The first thing we must know in this lesson, the definition of an organizational structure. So let's see over here the definition of organizational structure. The organizational structure refers to the levels of management and the division of responsibilities within an organization. So every organization, every business must do an organizational structure, which means dividing the whole business into different levels from the highest level to the lowest level, and each level will be given certain responsibilities and certain tasks. So in order to know what is the organizational structure of this business or this organization, I must do an organizational chart. So organizational chart, it's a diagram that outlines the internal management structure. So the management team in this business must, let's say, do a diagram that outlines all the internal management structure, the levels and the responsibilities. In a shape, it should be in a hierarchy referring to the levels of management in an organization from the highest level to the lowest level. So each level of hierarchy refers to managers, supervisors, or other employees who are given a similar level of responsibility in an organization. Let me explain or show these terms in the diagram over here. In this case study, let's look at this case study. This is an organizational chart dividing the whole organization into different levels, and in each level it's gonna be let's say the responsibilities and tasks are going to be divided into each level. As you look at this chart, you're gonna see it's a hierarchy from the highest level all the way to the lowest level, and each level, this is a level, the level that all the people in this level have the same position. Director here, director, and director. So these directors, they are in the same level. Meanwhile, this hierarchy level where managers are, let's say, they are in this level over here, they are the managers. So it looks like a hierarchy, and each hierarchy has a level, the levels of hierarchy. So in each level, people in the same level, they have the same position and the same responsibilities and tasks. And this is what organizational chart looks like. So here, organizational structure refers to the level of management and division of responsibilities. As we just saw, the structure often presented as a form of organizational chart, and this chart, it looks like hierarchy, and in this hierarchy there are levels, different levels from the highest level all the way to the lowest level. So over here, they're just saying that sometimes when a manager is working alone, there is nothing. There's no need to do an organizational structure because there's only one level, there is only one person who's working alone. So there's no need to outline the responsibilities because all the responsibilities are going to be for the one person. Unlike the businesses that has a lot of employees where I have to, let's say, define the responsibilities and duties for all the employees. And when I have a lot of employees, I have to, let's say, do this organizational structure, and I have to assign responsibilities and tasks in different levels of hierarchy. So when I look at this organizational chart, I have to understand the most important features over here. The first thing, it is a hierarchy, which means there are different levels in this organization. So you can see it's a hierarchy. It's like a pyramid going from the highest level all the way to the to the lowest level. Each level has a different degree of authority. So the director has more authority than the manager has more authority than the assistant manager, and the assistant manager has more authority than the normal shop workers. It is organized into departments, and as you can see, each department has a particular job or function. So the marketing manager has different, let's say he is working in a different department than the finance department, and the finance department, they have different responsibilities and tasks than the HR department. As there are different levels of management, there is something called chain of command. So let's see what is meant by chain of command. Chain of command is the structure in an organization that allows instructions to be passed down from senior management to lower level of management. So this is how power and authority are passed down, pay attention, down from the top to the lower level in the organization. So when someone was working as a director, they can send instructions and commands to all the other lower levels in the hierarchy, which is like the managers, the assistant managers, and the shop workers. So when the financial director, let's say he is sending a command to the bookkeeper can send a demand to all the people who are in lower levels in the management. This is the chain of command, where the command is going from the highest level all the way to the lowest and the lowest, and so on. Now, what are the advantages of having an organization chart? So why do I as a manager or an owner of the business, I do this kind of chart? Why do I do this diagram in the first place? Because there are different advantages. The first advantage is this chart is going to show everybody how everybody is linked together in the organization. Even though they are working in different departments or doing different tasks or different responsibilities, they are linked all together in the same organization. So all the employees are aware of which communication channel is used to reach them with messages and instructions. Also, what is the communication channel? So they're gonna know that they are linked together, and also they're gonna be, let's say, united in one communication channel. And all of the employees in this organization, they're gonna know which communication channel is used. Every individual can see their own position in the organization. So because of this chart, I can know as an employee, I'm in which level, what is my position in this organization, who has higher position than me, or who has lower position than me. They can also know who they are accountable to, and who they have authority over. So if I'm, let's say, here as let's say assistant store manager, I will know that the store manager has a higher let's say level, and he's responsible, and he can actually send commands or instructions for me. And also as an assistant manager, because of this chart, I know that I'm responsible for the shop workers because they are in a lower level than I am. It shows the links and relationship between different departments within the organization when it comes to the hierarchy level. Everyone is in a department. This gives them a sense of belonging. So the sense of belonging, this is a psychological factor, which means that when I see this chart, I know that if I'm working in the marketing, I know that I belong to the marketing department. So this is something that let's say a sense of belonging to a team, to a group. This chart is going to help me to satisfy this kind of need. And over here, we are going to be speaking about chain of command and span of control. So let's see what is meant by the span of control. We already know what is a chain of command, how command is going from the highest level all the way to the lower level as a chain from one person to another. And the span of control, let's see what is a span of control. Span of control is the number of subordinates working directly under a manager. Who's this manager has let's say the number of people this manager has control over. So if I'm, let's say, a manager and I say I'm responsible for 5 or 6, let's say, employees, this is the span of control. When I say I'm talking about span of control, the first thing that must pop through your head is you must give a number, whether you're responsible for 11, 12, 13, 30 subordinates. There are people working directly under a manager or lower, in a lower level. So over here we have, let's say, two charts. We have business A and we have business B. So business A has a tall structure and a long chain of command. So here we have a long structure and a long chain of demand, which because of the let's say the number of levels over here in the hierarchy. Meanwhile, in business B, it has a wide structure and a short chain of demand. You can see that this one is wider. There's less levels than business A. As a result of these two different structures, the span of control, the number of subordinates working directly under a manager, is wider in business B than in business A. So in business A, this number is 2, and in business B, it is 5. So over here, they're talking about here this person is responsible for only 2. Meanwhile, in business B, this person is responsible for, or the span of control is 5. Therefore, there is therefore an important link between the span of control and the chain of command. The longer the chain of command, please pay attention over here, the longer the chain of command and the taller will be the organizational structure and the narrower of the span of control. So when the chain of command is short, the organization will have wider span of control. So when it's short, it's wider. When the chain of command is short, then I have a wider span of control, as you see here in business B. So a lot of businesses, they tend to have let's say a short chain of command because there are a lot of different advantages over here. They prefer to have something like business B unlike business A. So why would they, let's say, prefer to have a short chain of command, which is like a wider one with less levels? The first one is because communication is quicker and more accurate. So if this person or this director wants to contact the managers, it's quicker and more accurate. They can reach these managers easily. Each message has fewer levels to pass through before reaching the intended person. So if I want to send a message to this person, there are just only 2 levels that I have to go through till this message reaches this person. Meanwhile, over here, I have to go through a lot of levels. I have to go through this level and all the way till this person. The second one is top managers are less remote from the lower level of the hierarchy. So the manager will feel that he's closer to the lower levels of the hierarchy. He feels that he has a contact with normal employees, with people who had lower position than the manager. So the managers should be more in touch with the people below them, as there are fewer levels to get to know. The third one is span of control will be wider. This means that each manager is responsible for more subordinates. So if I'm responsible for more people, how is this an advantage? If I'm responsible for 10, because it has a wider span of control, how do we consider this an advantage? Let's see how do we consider this as an advantage. So if a supervisor have more people to manage, it will encourage managers to delegate more. This is the first thing, to encourage managers to delegate more. And now I'm going to explain what delegation means later in this video. This is because as their department is larger, they cannot possibly do all the important work by themselves, because when I have a lot of people to control, I have a lot of subordinates, I have to, as a manager, to delegate. So it's going to encourage the delegation part. Number two, there will be less direct control of each worker and they will feel more trusted. They will be able to take more decisions by themselves. They may obtain more job satisfaction. So also when I'm delegating someone to do a certain job, this person is going to feel more satisfied in his job. He's going to feel that he is trusted to take more decisions when I encourage the delegation part. So, roles, responsibilities, and interrelationship between people in the organization. So over here, the key features of current organizational chart, which is typical many larger businesses, are as follows. So also when we are working in large businesses, the structure is different than smaller businesses. So now we have, I want you to learn what are the main positions in these large businesses and what are the key features of the organizational chart for larger businesses. Let's see the first one. It is still largely arranged into functional departments such as finance and marketing. These departments are responsible for one important part of the work of the organization. So the first thing in large businesses who have, let's say, large organizational structure is they have departments such as the finance department and the marketing department. And these departments, they do only one important part of work of the whole organization. They're responsible for their major, and these departments are led by the director. So if I want to give you like a key, let's say something to remember, the D and the D here over in departments. So the departments are being, let's say, the responsibility of the directors, and the director has the final responsibility for the work of everyone in the department. So the director is responsible for every result that's coming out of this department. So we need to, in order to have better results, we need to make the workers in this department feel more loyal to the department and also the organization as a whole. Even though could be conflict between departments, but the director must solve these problems in order to have a better result. And also over here, managers working in these departments are called line managers. So in this department, who's like the boss over there is the director. Then the line managers, the managers working in these departments, they are called line managers. They have the authority to give orders to supervisors. So we have directors, then line manager, then supervisors, and other employees, and to have their decisions put into effect in their department. They supervise subordinates in a clear line of authority. This is the, let's say, the role of the line managers. They are responsible for the supervisors and the employees, plus they let's say, make sure they give orders, and they are responsible for all the people in the department. In addition to the functional department, there's also a regional division responsible. All right. So over here, let's say the department has advantage of being able to use specialist knowledge to help and run in the stores abroad. So there's a chance to have, let's say, a regional manager in order to use his knowledge abroad. And also there are other departments which do not have a typical function and which employs specialists in particular areas. So over here, I just want you to pay attention to the staff manager. The people in departments, there's something called a staff manager because they provide specialist advice and support to the board of directors, to line managers of the functional departments. Staff managers tend to be very qualified experts. So also we have staff managers. They are a well-qualified experts, and they provide specialists advice and support to the board of directors. So I can hire someone who's called a staff manager, and this staff manager could, let's say, give advices to the board of directors in this business, and to give, let's say, advices, knowledge, and how to function this department in a better way. So here we have the definitions of what we just said: the directors, the line managers, the supervisors, and the staff managers. So the director, there are senior managers who lead the particular department or division of business. Line manager, direct responsibility for people below them in the hierarchy. Supervisor are junior managers who have direct control over the employees below them and in the organizational structure. Staff managers are specialists who provide support, information, and assistance to line managers. So we director, then line manager, then supervisor, and the staff manager, they give assistance to line manager over here. Look over here. Now, we're going to be talking about the management itself. The management has a role and functions of management. So over here, we're going to be talking about the functions of management. So if I'm a manager, what am I supposed to do? What are my roles or what are my responsibilities? So let's start with the first one. The first responsibility is planning. Planning for the future of the organization involving setting aims or targets for targets. So this is what is meant by planning for the future, and in this plan I must set aim and target for the business that I'm working in. So these aims or targets will give the organization a sense of direction or a purpose. So why do I set aims and targets in the planning part? Because I must, let's say, plan for something to let's say direct the people in the business into a certain goal or an aim, so to have something to work towards. So it is a poor manager who does not plan for the future at all. So if you have a poor planning, the business will not have a specific target to work towards. But if you have a good plan, you can, let's say, direct all the people in the business toward this main plan. All right. So the second function is organizing. Okay, a manager cannot do everything. Tasks must be delegated to others in the organization. These people must have the resources to be able to do these tasks successfully. It is therefore the manager's responsibility to organize people and to use resources effectively. So in the organizing part, I'm just organizing all the tasks and responsibilities and assigning them to the right people in the business, and I'm delegating some of these tasks to other people in the organization. I'm just organizing this person is going to take task A and B, or this manager is going to take task B and C. So an organizational chart can help to show who has the authority to do different jobs. It also helps to make sure that specialization occurs and that two people not ending up doing the same task. So if I'm a manager and I did the organizing part in an effective way, I will avoid having a problem of let's say making two people doing the same job. And to avoid such a problem, an effective manager will organize people and to give them the right resources to be able to achieve this task. Number 3, or the third function, is coordinating. Coordinating means bringing together. So what is meant by bringing together? So a manager may be very good at planning and organizing, but have failed to bring people in the organization together, and this is real danger to the organization. So when I'm talking about the coordination, making sure that all the departments or different departments are working towards the same goal. So I plan for the aims of the business. I'm organizing each employee should do which task, and now I'm going to coordinate the whole business, the whole departments in order to achieve this goal. So every department can be working away in their own specialist area without making contact with people from other departments. So in the coordination part, I must make sure that all the departments in the organization, they are contacting each other to avoid any problem, and especially in the communication part. And also it is the operation department have to produce. Okay, so a good manager will therefore make sure that all departments, this is important, all departments in the organization, they are working together to achieve the plans originally set by the manager. So in the coordination part, I must make sure that the finance department is working and doing their job, and they are communicating with the finance department as well, and both of them, they are communicating with each other and making sure that they are working toward the same goal and achieving the same plans that has been set by the manager in the planning part. Number 4, which is commanding. As a manager, I should command and give orders to all the people in the organization. So the task of management is more concerned with guiding, leading, and supervising people more than just telling them what to do. So managers have to make sure that all supervisors and working are keeping to targets and deadlines. So in the commanding part, the manager must guide, lead, and supervise people, and not just like the word commanding or telling them, but actually making sure and giving instructions and giving directions to the people in order to achieve the targets and to, let's say, produce the products before the deadline. Giving instructions and guidance must be provided by the manager, and it is also their responsibilities of the manager to make sure that all tasks are being carried out by the people. Okay, so here number 5 is controlling. The controlling part, it's 100% the manager's responsibility. So the manager must try to measure and evaluate the work of all individuals and groups to make sure that they are on target. So if I gave them an aim, gave them a target, I'm commanding them, I'm coordinating them. The controlling part is not just the word controlling. I'm evaluating their work. I'm seeing if they are doing their job in the right way or as I plan to, not only just like controlling them and, let's say, limiting their freedom. So to make sure that all the groups in the work are doing exactly what the manager is expecting them to do. So if they are not doing or they're failing to do what is expected from them, then the manager have to do some corrective action. So it's part of supervising, it's part of controlling, it's part of, let's say, evaluating the work and seeing if it's exactly how the manager expected or not. So without clear and effective management, without the clear and effective functions of management, a business is going to lag. So if I didn't do these 5 functions, what might happen? Number 1, I will lack a sense of control and direction. I will not be able to control the organization. We're going to have a lack of coordination between departments, and there's no control on employees and the organization of resourcing, leading to low output and sales, because the employees are not gonna use the resources, the inputs correctly. So therefore it's gonna lead to low output and low level or rate of sales. Now let's talk about delegation. So what is meant by delegation? It's giving a subordinate, someone who is in a lower level in the hierarchy, the authority to perform a particular task. So in order to do the delegation, it means I'm giving someone who has a lower level in the hierarchy an authority to do a particular task that the manager supposedly should be doing. So it is very important to remember that this is the authority to perform a task which is being delegated, not the final responsibility. So if I delegated a certain task to someone and he did it in a bad way, so the responsibility for this, let's say, for this task is going to be directly to the manager who delegated this task. So why managers they do delegation? So why as a manager I might, let's say, delegate a responsibility or a task for a subordinate, for someone who has a lower level? So number 1, because managers cannot do everything by themselves, because like as a manager I could be responsible for a lot of people, so I cannot do everything by my own. So I can, let's say, I delegate a certain, let's say, task to someone in order to be able to concentrate on other things in the management. The managers are less likely to make mistakes if some of the tasks are performed by their subordinates. So not all the responsibility is going to be on the manager. Somehow, he's not going to be the one. I know that he's going to be responsible for the final result, but at the same time, he's not going to be the one making mistakes. He's not going to be the one making mistakes, but at the same time, it's going to be something performed by the subordinates. And number three, managers can measure the success of their staff more easily. They can see if they have done in the performing the task delegated to them. So it's a way of controlling. It's a way of evaluation for the manager to understand, say, if the subordinates were, let's say, able to perform this specific task or not. What are advantages of delegation for the subordinates? Pay attention. I'm talking here. Over here, we're talking about the manager, and now we're gonna talk about the subordinates. So the advantage of delegation for the subordinates, it's gonna make work become more interesting and more rewarding, because as a subordinate, I'm doing something over and over and over. So when the manager delegates something for the subordinate, it's gonna make it more interesting and less boring. And number two, the employee feels more important and believes that the trust is being put in to perform a job well. So he's going to feel that he is a part of something great, and he is being trusted to do something really, really big. So he must work hard to perform his job in an effective way. Delegation helps to train workers, and they can then make progress in the organization. So it gives them career opportunities. So as a subordinate, this delegation is going to help me to be trained, to make progress, and also if I did the task correctly and effectively, I can have a career opportunity. I can be, let's say, have a better position, or to be in a better level in the hierarchy. So why might a manager not delegate? So why some managers, they decide that no, I will not give any subordinate any of the tasks that I'm supposed to do. So despite of the advantages, some managers, they refuse to delegate. Number one, because they are afraid that the subordinates might fail. So and the manager wants to take control everything by themselves. So because they don't want to like these subordinates to fail, and also maybe the managers like really wants to take control of everything, so they decide to do everything by their own or on their own. So why is it important to have good managers? A good manager, he motivates employees, he gives guidance and advices to all the employees, he inspires others, he manages the resources effectively, and when I manage and I use all the inputs and all the resources, definitely the costs are going to be under control and increase profitability of the businesses. A good manager will make sure to increase the profit in the business. Now we're going to be talking about leadership. So over here, there are different types of leadership or different styles of leadership. We have three main leadership styles. Let's learn more about them. Number one, we have the autocratic leadership, we have the democratic leadership, and we have the laissez-faire leadership over here. So the first thing we must know is, what is a leadership style? Are the different approaches to dealing with people and making decisions when in position of authority. It could be autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. So the style is the approach that the manager is going to use when they are dealing with people or when they are making decisions. So we have three styles of leadership. So the first one is the autocratic leadership. The autocratic leadership is where the manager expects to be in charge of the business and have their orders followed. So it's a bit a strict, let's say, style of leadership. So the autocratic leadership or the autocratic leader, this type of manager who has this style of leadership, he expects to be in charge all the time and to have his orders followed, and also they keep themselves separate from the rest of the employees. So they make virtually all the decisions. So this is another feature of autocratic leadership. They make all the decisions. They keep the information to themselves. This is one, and this is two. They tell employees only what they need to know, so they don't share whatsoever any other information with the employees. And communication in the business is mainly one way, so there's no communication only from a manager to employee. This is downward or top down, let's say, way, and the workers have little or no opportunity to comment on anything. So the employees, they do not have any, let's say, freedom to, let's say, comment or to ask about a specific decision or a specific instruction done by an autocratic leader or by a manager who's doing autocratic leadership. So over here, a potential advantage for the autocratic leadership is quick decision making, because the leader is doing a decision and he's not expecting anything in any comment in return. And also, these kind of decisions are they are good in, especially like in a crisis or when there's a big problem. This autocratic leader can do. They can make the decision quickly. Disadvantage: there is no opportunity for employees' input into key decisions, which can be demotivating. So there is no place for discussion, so the employees are going to be demotivated. And the second, let's say, style in leadership, it's democratic leadership. Democratic leadership is, let's say, the contrary of autocratic, where employees are involved in making process. So in democratic leadership gets the employee involved in the decision-making process. Information about future plans is openly discussed before the final decision is made. It's often by the leader. Communication both downwards and top-down, or upwards or bottom-up. So in the democratic leadership, it's the contrary of autocratic. Employees have a voice. They can talk. They can send their feedback. They can be part of the decision. The advantages is better decision, because we are consulting a lot of employees and we are using their experience and ideas, and also we can motivate the employees because they are now involved in the decision-making process. The disadvantage: unpopular decisions such as making workers redundant could not effectively be made using this style of leadership. So this leadership, it's not, let's say, it's not appropriate for all types of decisions, especially the unpopular decisions. Some decisions, they do not need discussion. It needs just one person to make a decision, and that's it. Here we have laissez-faire leadership, makes the broad objective of the business known to the employees, but then they are left to make their own decisions and organize their own work. So laissez-faire, it's in French, which means leave to do. In this leadership style, the broad objective of the business is known to the employees. We tell the employees what they have to do, what are the objectives, and then we leave the employees to make their own decisions and to organize their own work. So in this leadership style, the communication part is very difficult, and sometimes there's no clear direction for them, because they are on their own. So the leader has a very limited role to play. So in the laissez-faire leadership, the employees are doing, let's say, 90% of all the work. So as an advantage, it encourages employees to show creativity and responsibilities because they are on their own and they have to make their own decisions. Meanwhile, a disadvantage: it's unlikely to be appropriate in organization where a constant and clear decision-making structure is needed. For example, providing customer service. It doesn't work. It's not appropriate in organization where, let's say, a constant guidance is needed, or a constant helper is needed, or a manager is needed. So the style of leadership used by the manager can vary depending on the employees. being dealt with and the problem to be solved. So based on these 2 points, we can choose which leadership style to use. Different situations also require different styles of leadership. I can use the style of leadership depending on the situation I'm in as a manager. So each manager has to understand which leadership style he should use based on the situation that he is in, based on the importance of this situation, and a good manager will know which style of leadership he must use to suit this specific situation. Now we're going to be talking about trade unions. Trade union is a group of employees who have joined together to ensure their interests are protected. So over here, employees generally share many of same interests, such as improving their pay, having pleasant environment in which to work, being treated fairly by the employer, being given a proper training, and working in a safe environment. So these are like one of the requests or the interests of the employees in any business. So they form a trade union. These employees, they form something called a trade union in a way of helping employees to achieve improvements in these different aspects of their employment. A trade union is a type of pressure group. So inside the organization, they do a trade union in order to contact the higher management to allow the employees, let's say, to talk to upper management and to discuss their interests and their wants. So effects on employees being union members. So what are the effects? So the first thing, when a person starts work, they may be asked by someone who represents a trade union in this organization if he wants to join. So if the worker decided to join this trade union, he has he will pay an annual subscription. Usually it's a yearly fee. So if you want to be part of this union who's going to represent you for the higher management, you have to pay a certain amount of money yearly. So if I'm paying this amount of money, what am I going to receive in exchange of this payment or this subscription? So here we have benefits. The first one is strength in numbers when negotiating with employers. So when I'm negotiating a specific interest for me with the employer, I might not look strong enough when there's a 30 or 40 employees or a union talking or negotiating with the employer. Number two, improved conditions of employment. This union can discuss matters with the higher management or the employer to improve conditions of employment, and sometimes the employer, let's say, accept or confirm, and I can have a better condition of employment just because this union discussed that with the employer, such as rate of pay, about the holidays or the hours of work. And number three, improved environment where people work. So if there's anything wrong with the external environment where I work, this trade union can help me to make it better because they are allowing my comments to reach the higher manager or the employer. Improved benefits for members who are not working because they are sick, retired, or have been redundant. So after let's say if you have a specific situation where you are sick as a employee or you're retired, this union member or this trade union, they're gonna give you benefits because you're just part of their trade union. Improved satisfaction. You can get an advice or a financial support if you are a member. You can benefits that have been negotiated or provided for union members, such as discounts in certain types of shops, providing support facilities. Sometimes if you are in a specific or a well-known trade union, you can get let's say discounts in certain shops. Trade unions often meet government officials and influence policies for the benefit of workers. So this trade union, if it's big enough, they can meet government representatives and they can actually influence specific laws or specific governmental policies. More secure employment where there is something called closed shop. So what is closed shop? Is when all employees must be a member of the same trade union. So it's going to give more more security employment, because all employees are member in the same trade union. So when I'm like in a trade union, I will be I will there's going to be something called a closed shop, where all employees are in the same union. So, the disadvantages for an employee of trade union membership. The first one is I have to pay money, so it's going to cost a lot of money to be in this trade union. Workers may be required to take industrial actions even if they don't agree. So sometimes the trade union, they are doing decisions, or they're asking the members of this trade union to do specific actions where as a member I do not agree upon. Trade union can have both advantage and disadvantage for the employer. Here, miss, we are talking about the employee. Pay attention. So, as a manager, as an employer, the advantage and disadvantage, the first thing, they can help improve communication between workers and the management. I can, as an employer, I can, let's say, understand and know what my employees are concerned about. And number two, wage agreements will be easier to negotiate with a trade union than with individual workers. So if the workers wants, let's say, higher wages, something related to the payment part, it's better to talk with a trade union or a representative in the trade union rather than talking to each worker individually. However, trade union can organize strikes if they do not receive the pay level or the conditions they demand. So this trade union can, let's say, do a strike. They can stop working in order, if I'm as an employer, I didn't, let's say, respond to their requests. And wages are likely to be higher, adding to business costs when many employees are in trade union members. So if a lot of people like in this union wants higher wages, it's going to be adding a lot of costs for me as an employer. Okay, that was lesson 7. Please study well and see you in the next video.